What's up, everybody? Today we are going to be removing the fuel pump from a 350Z. We're going to go through the steps that you're going to have to do to remove it, as well as put it back in, and I will show you what tools you're going to need to do this. Alright, so let's get right into it. So for this project, you guys are going to need a couple of tools. First up, you're going to need a flathead screwdriver, a set of pliers, a small Phillips head screwdriver, a set of wire cutters, and then a set of wire strippers. However, there are two different kinds. I talk about them in the video. Either one works, so let's get to it. Alright, so before starting this, you're going to want to disconnect your battery, and then you're going to want to gather your tools. Once you've done that, you will go to the passenger side of the car, and you'll come to this glove box that is behind the passenger seat. Once you open up, there is a flat piece that is right in here. You remove that as long as you've got all your junk out of there, and then you're going to take a flathead screwdriver and you're going to pry this piece right up out of there. So once that's out, you will then see a little foam pad that's sitting down in there. Go ahead and pull that out, and once that's out, you will see the top of the fuel pump cover. So now that we have the padding off of the top and you can see the top of the fuel pump cover, what you're going to find is four basically little twist bolts, except they're made out of plastic and they have a Phillips head top. However, the plastic is soft enough where if they're hard to turn, you're just going to end up stripping them. So I found it was easier to just use a set of pliers and grab them like so and twist them. So now that you've done that, you can just pop this top piece off and you will now see the top of the fuel pump. And once you have the top popped off, there is an electrical plug. You just push down and you'll pop that off. It'll look like this. And just move this top off to the side. Alright, so now that you have the electrical plug undone, you will see the fuel line, and to disconnect that, you will squeeze in a piece of plastic and simply pull the tube off. And from there, you are ready to take the hat off of the top of the fuel pump and pull the whole assembly right out. To remove the top hat piece, you will see 6 small screws. They are a small Phillips head, and they're in there pretty tight, so make sure you don't strip them. Make sure you have good pressure pushing down when you're trying to spin your Phillips head screwdriver. After that, you will get the pressure from the whole fuel pump housing assembly pushing back up, and you'll be able to pull it out. Once you have the fuel pump about halfway up, there is a little black tube that connects right here. I've already taken it off. All you have to do is separate it off of the clips, and then from there, the assembly comes out. Once you've got it this far, go ahead and let the fuel that's still in it drip off into the tank. That way you're not dumping fuel all over your carpet and the car when you're taking it out. And then we can get it out onto the workbench. Alright, so now that we have our fuel pump out of the car and onto our workbench, we can move on to getting the assembly apart. So first thing you're going to want to do is disconnect all of the wires in this assembly. So to do that, you're going to want to pull this black piece right out of there. It's just clipped in, so it'll come out. And then go ahead and move the wires down along here. So now that you got those disconnected, you'll see a black wire, and that one's just a little pull, and a white wire that is also just a little pull. Alright, so now that that's done, all of our wires are disconnected. We can pull a little tab that's right here. It'll be under the spring, and the whole piece will come right out. Alright, so now that we have the assembly apart from itself, the next thing we're going to do is disconnect this electrical connection here, which can be done through a slight pinch and a pull upward. and give it a little wiggle, and it's out. And then from there, this bottom piece is all just a bunch of clips. So, get those off of there. Ouch. That piece comes off, and then from there, should be able to get your fuel pump right out. And there we go. There is the stock 350Z fuel pump. At this point, you have the stock fuel pump out. If you are replacing the fuel pump with another stock one, you will go ahead and put this all back in the opposite of how you took it out. However, if you are upgrading to a larger fuel pump, as I am, continue watching so you can see the steps you're going to have to do so that you can successfully put a bigger fuel pump into your fuel pump assembly. So the fuel pump that we are putting in is 450 liter per hour fuel pump, and we are going to make the modifications so that this all fits back in the stock assembly. However, so the first modification you're going to have to do is cut off the plug that comes with the 450 liter per hour fuel pump, or the said fuel pump that you are using. Other pieces you won't be using during the rest of this is this cap that was on the bottom of the fuel pump, the stock fuel pump, as well as this rubber piece that was on the bottom of the stock fuel pump. They fit together and will no longer fit on our bigger fuel pump. Alright, so to start reassembly of the new fuel pump, what you're going to first do is take this filter and put it back on the fuel pump as if it was stock. Go ahead and give it a little push so it squishes down, and then you will see a small washer that will then go over the little nub that holds the fuel pump in alignment. So you're going to want to get this piece over that nub and get it squished down. Alright, so now that you have the filter back on there with the washer, what you're going to do is feed the lines up through where the stock lines were, which if I can have any sort of coordination, I'll be able to get them in there. And there's one. There we go. So they'll come through the top, and then what you're going to want to do is a line back into the little filler right there. So you'll feel it. It will go into a little rubber grommet and then stick down in place, like so. And once you've hit this point, it is time for the next modification, which will be cutting these wires, which we will solder up with our other wires. So go ahead and grab a set of wire cutters. Once you've grabbed your wire cutters, go ahead and measure up so that you've got some extra wiring just in case. And then go ahead and snip them right off. Once you've done that, either dispose of this piece or put it back with your stock fuel pump just in case you save parts like I do, and we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so at this point you're going to want to grab a set of wire strippers. There's this style or there is this style. Either one will work. However, I'm going to use this style as it is a little less stress on the wire when you are separating the wire from the rubber coating. From there, go ahead and pick the right gauge size, and you're going to want to give yourself enough room on the rubber so that you can twist the wires together before the solder. So something right about like that, maybe half an inch, and then go ahead and separate them just like that. So you're going to want to do that on all 4 of the wires, 2 red, 2 black. So now that you have the rubber stripped from the wires, what you're going to want to do is grab a heat shrink tube, and you're going to want to put one on each wire. So it'll look something a bit like this. You're just going to push it over, and then push it away from the open wires because we're going to be soldering that. Also, for extra safety, we are going to be throwing a bigger one on there that will help protect it a little bit more. And at this point, what you're going to be doing is taking the two wires and twisting them together. So you'll see I have one done here. The red is connected to the red, and the open wire is twisted together. So I will now demonstrate with the black wires. What you're going to want to do is create an X like so, and then just twist them together. Now it's going to come out. And now what we're going to do is solder our wires together. I've already done the red one, for example. It's going to look about like so. And now what we're going to do is the black one. So you're going to want to hold the solder up to the wires, get it nice and warm, and then you're going to want to prime a little bit. And if I can get a hold on this wire here. Come on. There it goes. Come on. There it goes. And you're just going to want to flow it through. Nice and easy. And that's all there is to it. Alright, so now we are going to move our heat shrink tubing over our solder point. I've already done the black one first this time, so now we're going to move the red one right on over. And it's just going to go over just about like so. You just pinch it over real quick. And once you've got both sides covered, what you can do is heat it up and we'll shrink the wrap right over it. Now, you can either choose to be a thug and use a lighter, or you can use a heat gun, and even a hairdryer might work. However, keep in mind that this is a fuel pump assembly, so having an open flame near it might not be the greatest of ideas. However, if you are choosing that route, remember to be safe and be ready for anything to happen. But from here, we're just going to heat them up and try not to heat up our other ones that we have below. And that's all there is to it. So I just repeated the same process for the second layer of heat shrink that was on there, and now we are ready to reconnect our electrical connections. Alright, so now that we have everything soldered up and all the modifications are made, it is time to put it back into the bottom of the housing. So to do that, all you're going to do is same thing as when you removed it, except go ahead and grab your springs. There's one that goes on the back and one that goes on the front side. And this little thing needs to go right in there. It'll find its way down through there. And then as it goes down, just go ahead and clip it over. And that is the first part of that. Alright, so now that the assembly is all back together, it is time to reconnect our wires. The first one that you will do is the white one. It goes on top. So you're just going to want to push that together. The second one will be the black wire, and that goes right here. So push that down, you'll hear it click, and then the blue and the black will fish down and get them back in their clips so that they aren't flopping around in your fuel tank. And then, just like before, go ahead and just get this clipped back in there, like so. And that is all there is to it. If you would like to test your fuel pump before you actually put it back in the car, what you're going to want to do is grab a couple of alligator clips, and the power is the first and third prongs that are in your electrical connection here. So your red wire is your first one and your black wire is the third prong in there. What you're going to want to do from there is connect them up to a 12-volt battery source. So we're going to connect to our grounds, and then when we connect to power, we will hear it run. See? Just like that. And that is how you can test to make sure that it runs. Alright guys, so now we are at the point where our entire fuel pump assembly is back to how it was before we took it out of the car, which means we can just put it back in the car the same way we took it out, but backwards. So go ahead and get onto that, and we're going to do ours. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, like and subscribe. If you haven't yet, let me know down in the comments what other how-to videos you would like to see. I really enjoyed making this video, so I would like to make some more, but I want to make the videos that you guys want to see. So let me know down in the comments, and thank you guys. Peace out. Catch you in the next video.